And welcome to Hannity. So after President-elect Donald Trump's decisive victory, he now has a mandate to act on behalf of you, the American people. Former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani, he'll be here in just a minute. He has reaction. But first, my advice to Donald Trump tonight is move fast and keep all of your promises. Now, earlier today, President-elect Trump met at the White House with President Obama to discuss the transition of power, where I'm sure Obama extended an olive branch in a last-ditch attempt to try and preserve whatever legacy he has. Now, the president, well, he can play nice all he wants, but make no mistake about it, Democrats want Trump to fail. They will do everything they can do to stop him. Remember, it was only a few days ago, they're playing all nicey today, that Obama was saying this.
Donald Trump is temperamentally unfit to be commander-in-chief. We cannot elect a president who vilifies minorities, who mocks Americans with disabilities, who calls immigrants criminals and rapists. If you accept the support of Klan sympathizers before you're president, then you'll accept their support after you're president. So Donald Trump is uniquely unqualified to hold this job.
And don't forget about how President Obama really feels about Republicans.
I need you to go out and talk to your friends and talk to your neighbors. I want you to talk to them whether they're independent or whether they are Republican. I want you to argue with them and get in their face. I don't want the folks who created the mess. I don't want the folks created the mess do a lot of talking. I want them just to get out of the way so we can clean up the mess. We got to have middle-class families up in front. We don't mind the Republicans joining us. They can come for the ride, but they got to sit in back.
Oh, got to sit in back. So inclusive. When he won, remember, he often said, I won, we won. Said that a lot. Now, keep all that in mind. This isn't about coming together with Democrats. This is about completely dismantling his disastrous agenda. Now, that's going to mean this: repealing, replacing ObamaCare, replace it with free market solutions to lower premiums and give you, the American people, real choices about your future health care. That also means building that border wall, stopping illegal immigration so that Americans won't be competing for jobs with illegal immigrants who are driving down wages. That means he's got to follow up on appointing originalists to the Supreme Court like Antonin Scalia, Clarence Thomas, justices who believe in co-equal branches of government, separation of powers, who will follow the Constitution the way the founders intended it to be followed. Now, Trump has already laid out and put out a very strong list of potential Supreme Court picks. He should stick to the list. It also means his agenda on energy independence, approving the Keystone XL pipeline, and lifting restrictions on drilling and fracking so we don't have to pretend to be friends with countries that hate our guts. Not to mention that this will create millions of jobs for Americans that desperately need them. Also means draining the swamp, eliminating bureaucratic waste, fraud, and abuse, and getting our exploding debt under control. Stop robbing our kids blind. Simplifying the tax code. He said 7 brackets to 3. It means identifying who America's enemies are and who they really are, and not be afraid to use the term radical Islam. Also, it means extreme vetting of refugees so they won't put American lives at risks. It means, of course, no more Common Core in school, send education back to the states, and it also means remembering the millions of forgotten Americans. Here with reaction now, former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani. You know, there's a lot of rumors about you these days. Attorney General,
a lot of rumors,
AG.
Rumors and rumors. The agenda you outlined, he is absolutely going to do.
He's committed to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I spent
wouldn't it be refreshing?
130 days on the road with him. We talked. Sometimes we were the only ones up at 1 o'clock in the morning because the kids would go to sleep. I love that.
Yeah.
Both he and I loved it because we were older than both of them.
And they're all asleep.
Up there the thing about Donald Trump that the American people will get to know, and I think he's going to become more and more popular, is he is exactly what he says he is. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that got him in trouble, as we know. But everything he promised, he believes in. It's not one of these, you know, I'm for the Keystone Pipeline, and then I'm against the Keystone Pipeline, then I'm for it, then I'm against it. He's in favor of it. He's going to do it. He is dead set on renegotiating those trade agreements. You didn't mention the Iran agreement. Oh. He considers the Iran agreement the dumbest, stupidest.
Did you see what the Iranians said? The Iranians said he has to keep it. No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't. The president never, ever submitted it to Congress, as he should have under Article 2, Section 2 of the United States Constitution. It's a treaty. I invite the people at home to go get out the Federalist Papers and read Federalist Paper 75, where Hamilton defines a treaty. This is a treaty. When it's not a treaty, just signed by the president, the next president can repudiate it like that.
How many items off the top of your head on day one, executive orders, can he wipe out?
I haven't counted them. I would say easily 50.
Right away?
Right away.
Including executive amnesty?
Executive amnesty, all kinds of powers that were given to EPA, the Congress didn't give to the EPA, which is how he revives the energy industry.
Right.
The energy industry is being crushed by the EPA. Mm-hmm. And they're being crushed by things that Congress wouldn't pass, that Obama signed into so-called law by executive order. Now, most of that will get struck down by the courts, but 2 or 3 years from now, a President Trump can just sign a paper and get rid of it.
Let's go back to September 8th, 1974. Then President Gerald Ford. Let me read. I, Gerald Ford, President of the United States, pursuant to the pardon power conferred upon me by Article 2, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution, have granted and by the present and grant full, free, and absolute pardon unto Richard Nixon for all offenses against the United States which he, Richard Nixon, has committed or may have taken part in during the period from January 2069 through August 9, 1974. Now, a lot of people have said to me today, well, wait a minute, Hillary's not been charged.
No, that doesn't matter.
If you become the Attorney General, Donald Trump's been very clear that we can't have a two-tier justice system and that these issues about the email server and the foundation will be pursued.
Yeah. Also, the foundation investigation is still going on.
Do you think Obama will pardon her? Does he have the ability to?
He does.
Is it absolute?
In my view and my reading of the Constitution, which don't take as gospel, but I know it fairly well, argued before the Supreme Court, I believe the president's pardon power is absolute. And we're constitutionalists.
Sure.
So we would like it not to be maybe, but it is. So theoretically, he could pardon her for basically anything
she might have done.
Right, that has already happened. He can't pardon her, obviously, for something she does in the future, but anything she has already done.
Amazing. Now,
and also,
if you were the Attorney General,
what about Aberdeen, Cooper,
Mills,
Pagliano, these guys who took the Fifth and apparently committed perjury?
Right.
WikiLeaks, you got the proof of the perjury. There's a whole group of them out there that the Justice Department, an honest Justice Department, would be pursuing. And I can tell you, the FBI is pursuing.
There will be some Republicans that say, you got to focus on the agenda. This will be a distraction. Let Clinton go.
There's an argument to be made for that, but there's also an argument to be made for equal justice under the law, which is, how do you not prosecute some of these and then go ahead and prosecute Martha Stewart for one count of lying to the FBI?
Or this guy that's in jail now,
or how do you prosecute the guy in jail for taking pictures of the submarine?
Him.
Yeah,
6 pictures.
6 pictures. I thought he sent it to his mom, right?
No, he just had him in his phone.
Yeah.
He took him for himself in a submarine, and phones were allowed to be in the submarine.
Yeah.
And he's spending a year in jail right now.
So how do you prosecute him? And then you don't prosecute this case, assuming it turns out to be as substantial as some of the FBI agents believe it is. I mean, remember, the investigation, and Comey was very careful. He came to the conclusion on the emails that she shouldn't be prosecuted. First of all, that's not his decision to make. It's the Justice Department's decision to make. So it was not really a definitive decision. Secondly, the Clinton Foundation investigation is an ongoing investigation, as far as I can tell, being carried out by the New York office of the FBI. That's going to sit on the desk of the next Attorney General.
You were on the road, as you said, 130 plus days with Donald Trump during this campaign. You've been one of his closest friends and advisors. You went out and campaigned hard for him. Obviously, he will want you in his cabinet. Is there any particular position you want? Would you like to be the attorney?
That's a discussion that Donald and I
So Hannity's not allowed in that discussion?
No, you're not allowed in that discussion. That should be a very private discussion.
See my place in the world, just right back to being a host.
There's a whole transition team and a whole process you go through and vetting and everything else.
Is there any one position you'd prefer?
Right now, I'm pretty happy where I am. So it would have to be something where I believe that only I could do that.
If I'm Hillary Clinton and Rudy Giuliani becomes the AG, no, I'm serious. I'd be scared to death because I do believe Donald Trump. He said he would pursue it. And if you're the Attorney General and I'm Hillary Clinton, I would be scared to death because I know how good a prosecutor you were. I was here when you were mayor. I know how. I remember honestly, the old press conferences.
Honestly, I was a better prosecutor than mayor.
Oh, you're a pretty good mayor.
The mafia. Yeah,
you went after the mob.
Boski, Milken. A number of Ed.
And you've become friends with Milken, right?
Milken and I are good friends now, and I believe Milken is an excellent candidate for a pardon.
Wow! All right, Mr. Mayor,
and that's based on the good works that he's done after his conviction. This is a case of a guy who learned his lesson and has really helped society.
All right, thanks. He was the junk bond guy. Yeah, you're right. He does a lot of charity.
And I know a few others like that. It's not you and I are Catholics,
right?
And we know that people can redeem themselves.
Absolutely.
Some people can't.
Right.
Some people can't, and you got to know how to distinguish between them.
All right, Mr. Mayor, good to see you.
Thank you.
All right, up next tonight, right here on Hannity.
Real change begins with immediately repealing and replacing the disaster known as ObamaCare.
ObamaCare, a big fat government lie to you, the American people. Donald Trump, he told you he will repeal it. He'll replace it. How does he plan to do that? We'll check in with Dr. Ben Carson. And also later tonight, President-elect Trump, he promised to drain the swamp. Tonight we speak with Laura Ingraham, Reince Priebus, and much more.
Change begins with immediately repealing and replacing the disaster known as Obamacare. With Obamacare, premiums are surging, companies are leaving, insurers are fleeing, doctors are quitting, and deductibles are going right through the roof. We can repeal and replace Obamacare and save health care for every family in Michigan and throughout the United States of America. We have to do it.
All right, that is now President-elect Donald Trump on the campaign trail earlier this week, promising to repeal and replace Obamacare. Now, this is an issue that has been weighing on the minds of many of the American people. Now, after it was announced, of course, that Obamacare premiums will once again skyrocket this coming year, many people will be seeing double-digit increases. So how will the president-elect, when he becomes president, repeal and replace it? Joining us now, former 2016 presidential candidate, Dr. Benjamin Carson. Dr. Carson, I read that you have been asked to be a part of this effort to repeal it and replace it. True?
Of course. And of course I would be extraordinarily happy to help with this. You know, health care is by far the most important thing that a person has. And, you know, this announcement of this big increase, this is just the first tranche. There's going to be several more. It's going to be completely unaffordable. It doesn't work. I think the people who put it together knew that it wouldn't work and that it would prime the people for acceptance of government-controlled single-payer system.
So how do we transition?
Fortunately, we've stopped that.
All right, so we're going to repeal it. How do you transition people back to it? How do you create free market health savings accounts with competition, with portability that allows for pre-existing conditions? This is not an easy task. Undoing this damage is going to be hard. Are you worried about transitional costs for people?
It's not an easy task, but, you know, we have models for how to do it. How to create health savings accounts using the same monies that we use to buy, you know, exorbitantly expensive health insurance. So that's just a matter of putting the pieces together. And once that is done, you know, all you need then is your catastrophic health care, which is going to be much, much cheaper You know, the models are multiple. They will be worked out. It will be very easy for people to understand. And 80% of your encounters with the healthcare system are going to be between you and the system, not some third-party individual.
Yeah. You know, one of the interesting things, I know this doctor in Wichita, Kansas, he actually set up his own cooperative, and he buys medicines in bulk. He is available, him and his team, 24/7 for everybody in the cooperative. They all save money. They all get better care. They all get cheaper medicines. You know, do you think you'd be able to institutionalize that all around the country or something similar?
Well, similar things, because, of course, if the relationship is between the patient and the healthcare provider, you're going to bring the whole medical system into the free market. And free market forces will control cost and quality. It'll be much better in both of those instances.
Yeah. All right. Will you take a position if asked? Health and Human Services Secretary, Surgeon General, would you take those positions if asked? And have you been asked to take a position?
We're discussing these things. You know, I personally feel that you can do a lot from outside, but if that were the only way that it could be done, you know, obviously I'm going to do what needs to be done to assist.
So in other words, so you have discussed it. You can say it. It's okay. You can share it with me.
Yes, there have been discussions.
I happen to think it's a good choice myself. So you don't have to sell me on you, Dr. Carson. I'm a fan. All right. This is going to be a difficult transition, but one that's necessary before this thing totally blows up, which it's kind of imploding now of its own weight. Dr. Carson, thanks for being with us.
It's not going to be so difficult because it's going to be logical.
That's true. By the way, that's refreshing for Washington. Good to see you. Thank you, Dr. Carson. And coming up next tonight, right here on Hannity.
I very much look forward to dealing with the president, the future, including counsel.
President-elect Donald Trump met with President Obama at the White House today. Laura Ingraham, she weighs in next. Plus, the mainstream liberal media and liberals generally are freaking out over President-elect Trump. Sheriff David Clark and Judge Jeanine Pirro will join in and weigh in later on in the program.
Look forward to dealing with the president in the future, including counsel. He's explained some of the difficulties, some of the high-flying assets, and some of the really great things that have been achieved. So, Mr. President, it was a great honor being with you, and I look forward to being with you many, many more times in the future. Thank you, sir.
President-elect Donald Trump met with President Obama at the White House earlier today. Now, Mr. Trump promised voters that he would drain the swamp. How's he going to do that? Joining us now with reaction, editor-in-chief of LifeZette, Fox News contributor, nationally syndicated radio host. She put it all on the line this election. There's a group of people ready to go after her and yours truly. To me, I think it's simple for Mr. Trump, but difficult on the other hand. I think he just follows through on his promises, follows up on his agenda, his contract. Drain the swamp is one of them. He laid out that speech in Gettysburg. Will that be hard with the Republican Congress?
I don't think so. I've talked to another, probably 3 or 4 people today in leadership on the House and in the Senate. And there is a palpable difference in tone and attitude. Everyone now is really excited about Trump being president, even those who are not all that thrilled, to say the least. So he's completely, overnight, changed the way the Republican
that amazing? Isn't that nice for them to come on board? And I guess everybody likes a winner, right?
Yeah, well, they do, Sean. And it's what was frustrating, I think, just to back up a moment, about this race, because I think you were saying this, I was saying this. Just support the ticket, and then you can debate about the nuances of policy if he wins. But if he doesn't win, all these things we want to do are never going to happen. So support the nominee through good and bad. Don't abandon him just when he's at his most difficult spot, which is what a lot of them did. And now they're trying to, a lot of them come crawling back and saying, oh, no, I'm really thrilled about this. I'm going to work hard for you. And it's better later than never. But I think we have to be very careful that, as you said, that
the last ones on the ship will be the first ones off the ship as soon as they hit any bumpy waters.
Right, and I think that's really important for Trump to remember. He laid out some issues. You addressed them already. You know, Obamacare, immigration, both the wall and reduction, really, in illegal immigration. The type of immigration policy we've seen over the last couple of decades, really since the 1960s, we changed our immigration policy. And most people aren't in favor of that. They want immigration to be controlled and work to the benefit of the American people. And that's a big undertaking. But Obamacare, immigration, tax reform, these are things that are non-negotiable. He has to do these now.
I think originalist, extreme vetting. I think building the wall, eliminating Obamacare, health savings accounts, 3 tax brackets instead of 7, lowering the corporate tax rate. I think energy independence and education back to the states. If he does that, he will change this country in deep and profound ways, even though it sounds easy.
I think you're right. It'll grow the economy. You throw in trade and limiting the foreign workers who can come into the country until wages start going up. All those things will redound to the benefit of the economy. And as a side benefit, but nevertheless very important for the Republicans, Sean, is that it will build the Republican Party out into a more populist, pragmatic party. And when that happens, when Trump can go into the inner city and say, see, I did the things that I said I was going to do, and look at how people's lives are getting better. Join us. Like, continue to grow the movement that he started. That's where it gets really interesting.
You know how multinational corporations have trillions parked overseas, and he'll also institute the lowest corporate tax rate in the industrialized world. He can give them a further incentive. Okay, if you take these old factories in Detroit, if you rebuild in Wisconsin or Ohio or Pennsylvania, in other words, those areas that have been devastated, I think it would transform the country and get people back to work and out of poverty and off of food stamps. It would do wonders for the economy, wonders for the people of this country.
And think about the family dynamics that will also be improved. There are so many breadwinners who are not in the workforce, and they want to work. They want to maybe have fewer than 3 jobs. I'd like to have 1 job that pays a decent salary. Families' lives improve. It has all these ripple effects, Sean, that will be much better for the country if we have a growing, strong economy. And the thing that you have to really smile about is that China's worried. If China was happy about who got to the presidency, that's a bad sign for us.
The Iranians,
they're very worried.
Oh, you better keep that deal. I don't think that deal is worth the paper it's printed on. I'm hoping. All right, Laura, you've been great. Thank you.
Great to see you.
And coming up, liberal celebrities, mainstream media, they're losing their minds collectively. Why? Because you elected Donald Trump. Sheriff David Clark, Judge Jeanine Pirro, and wait till you see, by the way, Miley Cyrus's crying meltdown, and then RNC Chairman Reince Priebus, and much more. Straight ahead. Mainstream media, they weren't the only group lashing out last night. Whiny, sore loser, progressive took to the streets, often blocking traffic in several of America's busiest cities in order to vent their frustrations. Joining us now with reaction, Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark, the host of Justice, Judge Jeanine Pirro. Sheriff, this is fairly predictable. Anytime conservatives win, Republicans win, the left goes in complete meltdown mode. The things we will hear in the next 4 years, I'm warning my audience, it shouldn't shock you. They are going to lose collectively their minds. That's my prediction. How should we deal with it?
Well, first of all, I just thoroughly enjoyed that montage you showed of the left, or you played of the left in meltdown mode. It's fun to watch. Look, this is a great day for America. I remember back in 2007 when Barack Obama won his first election, showed up in Grant Park on Chicago's South Side, and they showed a picture of Jesse Jackson with a tear rolling down his cheek. Well, that was me the other night as Donald Trump took the stage. And Fox News, I believe, was the first to announce that Donald Trump was the president-elect of the United States. And today, I still have to pinch myself. I said it several times on your show, Sean, I said that Donald Trump would win. But to be in that moment now, post-election, I mean, I don't smile much, but I'm smiling from ear to ear today.
I've seen you smile, Sheriff. I've been at events with you where you're smiling. Judge, your reaction?
Well, my reaction to the media is not surprise at all. I mean, but look, what we've got are a bunch of wusses, all right, who tried to convince America that we are a racist country, that Donald Trump is all of these isms and ists, and I'm not even going to go through it because I think it's defamatory. But they are the people who are the racist and the anarchists and who support these wimps who, especially on college campuses, and these people who are protesting, they are anarchists. They don't believe in America. They want to burn flags. They want to not work. They want to get a check. They want illegals. They want open borders. You know what? It's time people recognize that we are a country that works for a living, that works hard to make sure that we can afford food and rent for our families, and that we deserve a president who believes that it's all about us, Americans, and not a global, country and a global economy. And by the way, when they hang Donald Trump in effigy and they say love Trump's hate, they're the hypocrites. They are the people who are violating the law.
Sheriff, let me give you some examples. Slate, has a piece, white one. Van Jones, this was a white lash. Cokie Roberts, there's great hostility to having a female president. People have to die, some of these anti-Trump protesters were saying. By the way, if any of these celebrities want to leave, I'll help them get out. How to impeach a president. Google shows a 500% increase. Some in California want to leave the union, for crying out loud. Some social media comments, Trump should be assassinated. And this is only the beginning of it. You saw the video of this guy that was beaten over this whole thing. And, you got schools telling kids, if you're so traumatized, we'll offer you counseling to deal with your grief and shock over Donald Trump's victory. I don't know whether to laugh or cry.
Well, yeah, a little of both. This is nothing more than an attempt to intimidate the Trump administration and to intimidate the Trump supporters. This is a slap in the face to the voters. In our democracy, the voters decide who will lead these institutions of government, and numbers came out and enough to make Donald Trump the president-elect of the United States. It's going to take them some time, but they'll get over it. But in the meantime, you put up with them like a petulant 2-year-old. You let them, dance and have their tantrum, and then at some point you take them by the arm and you look them in the eye and you go, that's enough.
Grow up. I think one of my favorite, though, is Miley Cyrus posting this.
I do want to say that I've been very vocal for my support for everyone besides Donald Trump. I've heavily supported Bernie, heavily supported Hillary. I still think that in her lifetime she deserves to be the first female president. And that's what makes me so sad.
I want to know what she's fought for. And every time I hit the street, I say to people, what has she done other than as senator? She's got a post office named and a road named. And Miley Cyrus, this is a lesson for you and all of your Hollywood elite friends, that you don't have any power, any control. We don't give a damn what you think or what you say. And you know what? Get over yourself. You sing well, keep on singing. And that's enough about politics.
Okay, I think we'll leave it there,
Queen.
Sheriff. Drama queen.
Listen,
I wasn't exactly happy in 2008 and 2012.
Yeah, but we didn't protest.
I didn't protest. I didn't cry. Didn't act like a baby. Good grief. Grow up, you
adults.
people. If you need counseling over a prepresidential election, you're a mess to begin with.
Dog therapy. They're bringing in dogs to the campuses.
Give them a binky and a blanket.
Safe house, little safe spaces, free counseling sessions.
What a bunch
group
of wusses.
therapy. Hug it out.
Hug it out.
Yeah. Coming up, President-elect Donald Trump had a busy morning in D.C. after meeting with the president at the White House. Well, Mr. Trump and the vice president-elect Mike Pence, they met with Speaker Ryan on Capitol Hill. So how come the party and how can the party come together and fix this economy, which is a mess? We'll check in with RNC Chairman Reince Priebus straight ahead.
A lot of priorities. A lot of really great priorities. People will be very, very happy.
What are the top three?
Well, we have a lot. We're going to work very strongly with immigration. We're looking at border. We're looking very strongly at health care. And we're looking at jobs. Big league jobs.
That was President-elect Donald Trump earlier today on Capitol Hill, detailing his administration's priorities. Now, Mr. Trump, along with Vice President-elect Mike Pence, met with Speaker of the House Paul Ryan during their visit to Washington today. Now, the voters have spoken, and exit polls show that 69% of voters said they were dissatisfied or angry with how the federal government was working. So, what are they going to do to fix it? Here now, RNC Chairman Reince Priebus is with us. Good to see you. By the way, congratulations. This, a lot of people had doubts about a system that you had built since 2012 to get more voters to the polls. Do you feel that it was as successful as you had hoped?
Well, I feel the result was pretty good. But let me just first say, before I talk about that, you have to start with a great candidate. And if you don't have the change candidate that's authentic and genuine in a change year, you can have all the data and turnout you want. It's not going to work. So it starts with Donald Trump, President-elect Trump, number one. But number two, we've been working for 4 years. We added, I was just looking before this interview, we added 300,000 more Republicans on the voter rolls through party registration in Florida. We also predicted turnout. To try to keep it basic, the most difficult thing you can do mechanically, the data and the people on the ground are important, but you have to figure out what your prediction is for turnout so that you can actually try to figure out how many votes you need in the box in order to win. That's where our operation was dead on accurate. So predicting how many voters you needed. So for example, in Ohio, we thought that we would need 2.745 million voters in Ohio. We achieved 2.771 million votes in Ohio. And I can go through state after state like that, but having the margins down perfectly is where it all begins, and then the process of either adding voters to the rolls and or targeting, or both, is where the targeting and adding people in and then putting those people in the box is the process that we go through, and it's a 4-year program. So it's not just showing up 3 months before an election and saying, let's just start knocking on doors. It's a targeting program that started 4 years ago and culminated with a great candidate who really shocked the world.
What do you make of the 69% of voters say they're dissatisfied, but we'll also go back to the Republican primaries, and 64% of Republicans felt betrayed by the Republican Party. Donald Trump was the outsider, was the change agent, and now he's got to work with many of those same Republicans. Do you foresee any problems, any conflict?
You know, I don't see a lot of problems because I've gotten to know President-elect Trump very well. I know how he interacts with people in private. I know how gracious and personable he is. Look at what happened today. I mean, you don't get to where Donald Trump is, President-elect Trump. I got used to that. You do not get there by being a person who doesn't understand the audience, the situation he's in, and acting in a way that affects the best outcome for his agenda. That's what he's going to do. Let me just say, tangentially to that, the voters spoke, and they elected Republicans in the White House, the Senate, the House, and they did it with great fervor. And so the agenda of our party, and particularly the agenda of President-elect Trump, is going to be the agenda that we pursue because that's what the voters wanted. So we're not going to water down the agenda.
Is that going to be the Trump agenda?
It's going to be the Trump agenda. He has the mandate. And so I just want people to understand that this isn't a matter of watering down our promises and forgetting about the will of the American people. The American people deserve the agenda of the Republican Party, because that's what they asked for.
All right, let me ask you this. Have you spoken to Donald Trump, or you're right, President-elect Trump? Have you spoken with him about a position in his cabinet? It's been rumored you're being considered for chief of staff. Is that something you'd be interested in? I know you've gotten close to him over these many months. Would you want to do that?
That's not something I'm talking about. I think it's something that, a lot of newspapers speculate about. I'm happy doing what I'm doing.
Has he asked you if you would come on board?
I don't think he's doing a lot of that kind of talking.
Why are you hedging? He did ask you. I'm sure he asked you.
No, listen, the job right now is to make sure that we have a successful transition, that the teams get in place as quickly as possible. The inauguration is something that gets planned right now, and it's just not something that people are talking about.
All right. Reince Priebus, you deserve a big congratulations. And I know you did get close with Mr. Trump in the course of this process. And it's going to be very interesting in the next, well, certainly the first 100, 180 days he's in office. Thanks for being with us.
That's right.
And coming up, very important, question of the day, and we need your help. That's next. All right, time for a question of the day. So, what is the first thing that you think President-elect Donald Trump should do as president? Just go to Facebook.com/Sean Hannity, @Sean Hannity on Twitter. Let us know what you think. My answer is simple. Get rid of all of the executive orders that have been hurting business and economic activity in the country. Maybe get rid of that Iranian deal, and then I'd start on just fulfilling every promise. Anyway, that's my humble advice. Thanks for being with us. That's all the time we have left. We'll see you back here tomorrow night.